Good afternoon. We will start today a series of discussions on management consulting. Management consulting is a subject offered in many management institutes, at times as a compulsory course, at times as an optional course. What we will do in this series is create a discussion background in the context of which further discussions can take place, involving but not limited to case studies in the class. Independently, if somebody just wishes to go through these presentations without taking a credited course, you can still do it. This series of presentations still will have valuable material from knowledge standpoint. So anyone interested in the area of management consulting can go through this series of discussions, 5 of them. In the first, we go into meaning and scope of the word management consulting. We also develop a general perspective, global and Indian. This is Management Consulting 01. Second session, Management Consulting 02. We go deeper into the process of management consulting. What are the constituents that constitute the process of management consulting? How it happens in practice, in reality. Management Consulting 03 will go into ethics in management consulting, client relationship in management consulting, and fees and cost in management consulting. Management Consulting 04 will go into case studies related to consultants and related to consulting. So some case studies will be involving consulting firms themselves, and some case mentions will involve interesting problems which consultants can take up to further their conceptual development. And some of the ideas from there can also be offered as a consulting product. Last session, Management Consulting 05, will go into the future of management consulting, which will involve both contemporary developments and future related to management consulting. So today we start with Management Consulting 01, our first session focused on meaning and scope of the word management consulting and develop a general perspective related to management consulting. Today we'll go into our session and our journey will include these points, the points on the screen. First is, what is management consulting? I should substitute here management instead of business, and we'll see why. So our journey today will include defining management consulting, defining who is a consultant, developing a perspective on the landscape of management consulting in the global context and the Indian context, going into why consultants are hired in the first place by the client, what does it take to become a consultant, by and large we'll stop here today, covering these 4 points. Session 2, Management Consulting 02, will focus on this. The process of management consulting. In the passing, we'll also cover tools for management consulting. That will be 02. 03 will be ethics. It will also include client relations, fees. This will be 03. 04 will be cases and some do-it-yourself exercises. 05 will be contemporary context and future. And these two are do-it-yourself exercises, which you can do yourself, or if you're taking up a course, they can be used for evaluation. This will be our journey of the entire 5 discussions. Today we will focus upon the first 4 parts, which will cover the meaning and scope of the word management consulting, global and Indian perspective in management consulting, and how to go about further into the subject, what are the reading sources, and if you want to take it up more seriously, what do-it-yourself exercises you can do, or if you're taking up a accredited course, how you can do some projects so that you get evaluated. And all the 5 sessions that we have will be based upon a textbook, Management Consulting by Milan Kuber. And we'll also consult some few other books, which I'll mention towards the end of today's session. So let us start with the first part of our journey. What is it? What does management consulting mean? What does the word mean? The first definition of management consulting was given by Fritz Steele and Peter Block. And they said management consulting is related to advising, not doing. So implementation went out of the window. Only advisory, as we know it today, was covered by this definition. Second definition, very popular, came from Larry Grainer and Robert Metzger. They defined management consulting as offering specialized knowledge in the area of management. Again, it was by and large offering of specialized knowledge, did not go into implementation. Even if it went to implementation, it was not explicitly coming out of the definition. Then we have a definition given by International College of Management Consulting Institutes, ICMCI. ICMCI stands for International College of Management Consulting Institutes. It's a global body which is a confederation of management consulting institutes of each country. So all countries which are G20, G25, which have a strong management consulting profession, in each country there is a management consulting institute. So in India it's called IMCI, Institute of Management Consultants of India. In some country it will be UMCI. In some country, Canada will have its own management consulting institute. UK will have its own, USA will have its own, and all these individual national management consulting institutes come together under one global body called ICMCI, which is International College of Management Consulting Institutes, global body, and therefore any credential offered by any national level management consulting institute which comes under ICMCI, that has global acceptance. So if I do a certified management consulting credential at India, that becomes valid in all countries where the national institute is affiliated to ICMCI. So when we talk of global harmonization of credentials, professional credentials, this is one of the few professional credentials that has a global recognition. So ICMCI, International College of Management Consulting Institutes, has given a definition of management consulting which we use today, most pervasively used. Says management consulting is the providing of independent advice and assistance about the process of management to clients with management responsibility. So there are two important elements, three important. First, it is independent advice, which means the person or the firm who provides advice is independent of the client, is an outsider, it is not an insider. An employee of the firm can also give advice. In fact, the senior management is hired especially for their experience, network, perspective, and advice. So this is not the advice we are referring to. We are referring to advice coming from an outsider. So it's an independent advice. Two, the outsider, the consultant, the management consultant hired by the client can also give assistance, which covers up what we call implementation with management responsibility. So it is a professional service given. It's not a free of cost advice. It is not a friendly advice. It's a professional advice. So we see here, this definition covers advisory, implementation, provided by an outsider who does it for a profit as a professional duty, taking responsibility of consequences. So it is not a free of cost, free of responsibility friendly advice. It is a professional advice given for a profit with responsibility taken by the consultant. So we see here, it is management consulting is advising or doing, or both of it, advising and doing. So you can be in advisory, you can be in implementation. Second, it is a professional service. It is not a friendly tip. It is a professional service given at a cost. So the person who is doing it for a profit, and because he's doing it for a profit, he also has to take responsibility of what he does. So management consulting involves advising and or implementation. It is a professional service. In some countries like Canada, it's a chartered service. In some countries like India, it is an unchartered service. So management consulting can involve advising or implementation or both of them. It is a professional service done for a profit, taking responsibility, and it may be a chartered or an unchartered service. Let's take some examples of advisory and implementation. If you are a management consultant like McKinsey and your primary work is advisory related to strategy, then you are primarily a advisory consultant. You practice primarily advisory. However, take another instance. Take a management consulting firm which helps you to improve your production process. Take a management consulting firm called Kaiser. They help you to improve your production process, and therefore they are into implementation. And they have to work on the shop floor with your workers, with your production staff, with your production managers. So they are into implementation. So you will have management consultants who are pure into advisory, management consultants purely into implementation, and management consultants which are into both advisory and implementation. Now let us start with the service sector, the economy, the service sector, consultancy and management consultancy. Let's slowly go into it one by one. Start from the grand picture, the economy. One way to look at economy is to divide it into agriculture, manufacturing and services. Leave apart agriculture and manufacturing, come to services. Services further can be divided into telecom services, tourism and hospitality services, accounting services, and so on. One slice in services will be consultancy services. And as we saw, consultancy services can relate to being advisory services or implementation services or both. So one slice in the service sector is consultancy services. If you expand this slice of consultancy services further, it will have further slices. And within the broad area of consultancy services, we have services like management consulting, legal consulting, medical consulting, technical consulting, and many others also. So management consulting is a part of a larger sector of economy called consultancy services, which itself is a part of a still larger slice of the economy called services. So there are many kinds of consultancy services. Management consulting is one of them. Now, management consulting itself can be divided into three parts. Most popular, business consulting, developmental or non-profit consulting, and government consulting. Management consulting can be divided. If you look at a management consulting as a slice, you can divide that whole slice into three parts. Business consulting, which is almost 70% of management consulting. Development or non-profit consulting, which is 15%, and government consulting another 15%. So management consulting is not the same as business consulting. Some people use the word interchangeably. But technically speaking, business consulting is a part of management consulting. Management consulting includes business consulting, non-profit consulting, and government consulting. In business consulting, you can have examples like McKinsey, PwC, Accenture, EY. In developmental or non-profit consulting, you can have examples like CHF International, CARE, Greenpeace, not Greenpeace, sorry, let me not use those examples. I mean, they are actually clients, not really consultants. They do a bit of it, but not them. So business consulting is very clear. McKinsey, PwC, EY, Accenture. In non-profit consulting, you can think of Chemonics. You can think about Raman Consultants. You can think about I forget the name. Just as you have the Big Four and the Big Ten in business consulting, you also have the Big Four and Big Ten in non-profit consulting. I'll recall and let you know. But you have distinct consultancy firms in business consulting, and similarly, you have distinct consultancy firms in non-profit consulting. Similarly, in business consulting, you have many individual management consultants practicing individually. Similarly, in non-profit consulting also, you have many management consultants who practice as individuals, not as a part of any firm. And then you have government consulting. So individuals and companies who are into business and non-profit consulting generally go into government consulting. Both of them. So you will have combinations like somebody doing business consulting and government consulting, or somebody doing non-profit consulting and government consulting. So this is the broad classification of the term management consulting. Okay, you will have one can have a question: why government would hire a consulting firm? Every ministry of the government has two requirements all the time for consultancy services. First is program development, how to develop any sector of the economy, or how to develop some project to do a social good, be it in the area of health, education, environment, women, children. So government has to create programs for which they hire consulting firms to create programs and policies, to do pre-policy studies. And once the policy or the program is implemented, to find out the impact assessment. So there is a mid-term impact assessment and an end-term impact assessment for every big program, and that is where consultancy firms are hired. So let us now go into details of business consulting, which constitutes almost 70% of management consulting. One way to classify the vertical of business consulting is to classify it into 5 parts: area of strategy and the 4 functional areas. And in each of the 5 parts, individual consultants and consulting firms can offer their services. So let us look at what are the areas in each of the 5 zones that consulting firms and individual consultants can offer their management consulting services. In the area of strategy, management consultants can offer services in the area of corporate strategy, creation of corporate strategy, or if something is ongoing evaluation of that strategy, merger and acquisition, focus and diversification. These are the three areas in which management consultants can offer their services in the area of strategy. There will be more areas. I have enlisted rather three. Coming to the four functional areas. In the area of marketing, three sub areas are very popular where consultants offer services. Area of business development, new product development, and brand management. Let's take some examples so it becomes more concrete. Let me start with strategy. In corporate strategy, say a company is not clear what to do. Decision point may be to hold on to or divest a vertical or a company in the group, or to acquire a new company, or to diversify into a new area. And to clear out the decision-making process with credible analysis, in-depth analysis, the company can go for hiring a consultant. Take a real-life example of the Tata Group, hiring McKinsey to bring alignment in a group and trying to reduce too many companies to a manageable few. Take the second part of merger and acquisition. One large IT company acquires a smaller IT company, and there are change management issues as the integration takes place. And to manage the change, a consultant is hired. Or talk about focus and diversification. When turbulence and unpredictability is very high, and it's difficult to create a long-term vision, large industrial groups, say, take examples of large companies which are into petroleum products, hydrocarbon products. With advent of battery run vehicles, hydrogen run vehicles, the entire sectors have come under threat. And they therefore have to decide where to diversify. And for this, most of these large companies would have hired consultants and would be working with them how to navigate through this period where energy source will shift from hydrocarbons or fossil fuels to cleaner sources. So these become occasions for offering management consulting services in the area of strategy. In the area of marketing, a very popular area for offering management consulting services is the area of business development. Take an example. Say there is a company X selling products in India for last 10-15 years and now wants to expand the market to Africa. So they can hire a consultant who specializes in developing marketing networks and distribution systems in Africa. In all probability, it would be a consultant who has worked as a marketing person in Africa for 10-15 years and has a hold on those markets. Or it would be a consulting firm who has done a similar assignment for somebody else. So international business development consultants can be hired to develop markets in new countries, very popular. Situation 2, an automobile company wants to develop an electric vehicle, and to develop that new product, they hire a consultant. Situation 3, some company like Patanjali, which has good products, good distribution system, good customer acceptance, they find themselves very weak in the area of brand management, and they hire a brand management consultant. Second functional area, let's take operations or production. And somebody can hire a consultant in the area of total plant maintenance, TPM, or in the area of quality like Kaizen, or hire a consultant for ISO 2000 or ISO 14000, or hire a consultant to enable the company to get a GMP, good manufacturing practices certificate, if you are into pharma or food. If you are into textiles or garmenting and you are exporting to developed markets, you might require certification of ISO 14000 or some series which certifies that no child labor is used and environment is not damaged. And to get that certification, one can hire a consultant to get the company ready for the certification. In the area of finance, management consulting assignments are offered by companies in the area of investment banking and brand valuation. Let's take brand valuation. Take a company called Interbrand, which specializes in brand valuation, which is very important to reflect in the balance sheet because it's a capital asset. Equally important in merger and acquisition valuations or share swaps. Equally important if you want to sell off a brand or buy a brand. There are consultants, both individuals and firms, who specialize only in brand valuation. Fourth functional area, human resources. Consultants are hired pervasively in the area of recruitment, which is outsourced to consultants by and large. Or in the area of training, again, much of training is outsourced. Or in the area of leadership development and coaching. And these are the three areas where within the human resource function, consultants are hired. In the recruitment, we can say look at Mafua or team leads who specialize as consultants in recruitment process. In training, we can look at Duke training or many other training organizations. Leadership development and coaching, it is more done by individuals. Some institutes also offer these programs, especially reputed management institutes. Their training division offers these programs. But my experience is people find individuals more comfortable to be with in the area, but opportunity does exist. Now let us look at in the social non-profit area and government area, what are the specific sub areas where management consulting services can be offered. In non-profit management area or social development area, every non-profit has to develop programs if they wish to make an impact. Program development can be simple or complicated. If it is complicated, they hire a consultant who specializes in that domain area. So program development is one area where consultants can be hired. Program implementation is another area where certain non-core elements can be outsourced to consultants. Or very specialized areas, even if they are core, can be outsourced to consultants. Not outsourced, in fact, consultants are taken on board if the area is core. Fundraising is an area in the non-profit sector where consultants are hired. Surveys and studies to be done by the non-profit. It can be a pre-program implementation, mid-program implementation, or post-program implementation survey or study where consultants are hired. Monitoring and evaluation, M&E as it's called, is an area where as a rule and not as an exception that the consultants are hired, because you require a third-party evaluation. So in the area of monitoring and evaluation, and you always have a mid-term monitoring of the program and an end-term monitoring of the program. I mean both monitoring and evaluation. So there is a mid-term monitoring and evaluation, end-term monitoring and evaluation. And you study the short-term and long-term impact. You study the pre and post impact. And there is quite a large community of consultants specializing in M&E in the non-profit domain. In the area of government, consultants are hired by the government for sector research to develop a sector. Say the government wants to develop semiconductor chip manufacturing in India. How to go about it, to lay out a path, government hires a consultant. Or government wants to roll out a national skill development program. How to go about it step by step over a period of next 10 years. To develop that program, government hires a consultant. Or something has been developed as a program, and for implementation or assistance in implementation or training for implementation, government hires a consultant. Lastly, for monitoring and evaluation, mid-term and end-term, or to do a pre and post analysis, governments hire consultants. So this is where we see in the area of business consulting, in the area of non-profit consulting, and in the area of government consulting. These are the specific areas, sub-areas where consultancy services can be offered. So if somebody wants to be a consultant, one can take up any of these areas and specialize there. How did it start? How do we look at the evolution of the management consulting profession? Documented record says that it started in 1870 with Charles Sampson, who started offering consultancy services in the area of shoemaking. So he had expertise in shoemaking, but he would not make shoes himself, rather offer his expertise to those who were making it, which was a very new thing. To make a profession of extending one's expertise, but not do it yourself. And in 1871, he started offering his services to the laundry units. So this is the first documented record that we had. There may have been many people before, but we don't have a documented record. And after that, we have Frederick Taylor and Henry Gant, who introduced the scientific management framework and became very popular. And they were very popular consultants, very energetic, very voracious. So after Charles Sampson, we hear of Frederick Taylor Henry Gant. And then we have, from individuals, we move to creation of consulting companies, firms. And in 1914, we have Edwin Booz, who created Business Research Services, the consultancy firm. And that's how we see management consultancy graduating from individuals to firms. And today, of course, we hear of Booz and Hamilton. 1920, Alton Mayo as a consultant became very popular because of his Hawthorne experiment. I'm sure everyone would know of it, having studied organizational behavior. 1925, James Mackenzie created McKinsey. And both Booz and Hamilton and McKinsey still survive. Second World War gave strong impetus to operations research because the war effort required managing complex logistics operations. So operations research got a boost in the Second World War. And the post-Second World War, the golden period of economic growth across the world, was very conducive for development of management consultancy profession and management consultancy firms in particular. And we see the Big Four and the Big Eight developing in this period. So today the Big Four, you can say McKinsey, KPMG, PwC, BCG. Some others would have a different list of the Big Four. Some talk about Big Eight and include Deloitte, Accenture, Goldman, and EY into it. Some talk about top 10 or top 25. I think if we go to top 25, we have less of controversy. If you go to Big Four, there is more of controversy. Which of the top 25 are you going to select in Big Four? If we look at the global management consulting industry, we see the growth from 11 to 16, and we can see here $251 billion, the size. Different surveys will give a different number, plus minus 20%, but by and large, the ballpark figure in the center, the median figure, will revolve around this figure. And of course, this is 16. We are 6 years down. And 6 years down the line, despite the COVID, this has gone up. And we can see the classification in each of the years into strategy, operations, financial advisory, HR, technology. So we can see here technology at the bottom, HR, second slice, financial advisory, third slice, operations, fourth slice, and strategy at the top. We can see each of the slices is growing, but the rate of growth is different. And overall, it is growing. The good part is the overall growth is not at the expense The overall growth is not at the expense of any slice that constitutes the whole vertical. And it's a very rapidly growing industry. As developing countries move towards the developed status, one of the industries which grows very rapidly is the consultancy industry. If we look at it from a geographical standpoint, this is how the global consulting market stands constituted. Much of the market is in North America and Europe. Asia Pacific growing very fast. Latin America growing but not so much of the promise. Middle East is growing quite fast. Africa growing but on a lower base. If we look at the percentage growth, we see again the similar pattern. Larger markets, which are the home markets to much of the consulting market, the USA, Europe, and the developed countries, G10, that is where the growth is. India is growing now at a much faster pace, and the base is much larger than what we see reflected here. If we look at cumulative growth, 2012 to 16, 4 years before, we see a similar kind of pattern. The only difference being technology is slightly lower as a percentage share, and financial advisory is much larger, and operations is much larger, equal to the financial advisory, which from 12 to 16 has changed. Technology now is much bigger, operations has shrunk, financial advisory has by and large maintained itself. If we want to see the change between various countries in Europe, the difference in the way management consulting market is constituted, we can see the difference of what proportion strategy constitutes it. So we can see strategy and functional constitution and other miscellaneous areas. What is interesting here is the case of Germany, where operations constitutes a much larger part of the whole build-up, and Hungary, where technology constitutes such a large part. And UK, where operations constitute such a small part. And Italy and Romania, where the miscellaneous constitute such a large part. So this is something that tells us the different constitution of this sector in major European countries. Why this difference is there has to do partly with the state of development of that country, partly with the nature of industry the country hosts, and partly to do with the outsourcing of manufacturing to Asian countries. What is interesting to see is that the more developed countries of Europe are not outsourcing manufacturing to less developed countries of Europe, rather they are outsourcing to Asia Pacific. A snap of top 10 largest consulting firm and their revenue and growth and market share. Of course, all this data is not primary data, secondary data. I have put sources at the bottom of each slide. This is of 2014. Every 2-3 years, if you take the survey, there will be a change in the top 3. There will be a change in the revenue growth figures, and there will be a change in market share. It's a very dynamic situation out there. But by and large, the players who are on this slide, 70% of them will continue to be on the slide. 30% will move out, 30% new will come in, but 70%, the top 10 by and large will be the key actors in any survey or any calculation we do about the sector. This revenue also has to be seen in the context of what the consulting firm is doing. In many cases, a consulting firm may have very high revenue, but much of the revenue would be coming from accounting and auditing services, not from core strategic consulting or core functional consulting. Another survey of consulting firms and their revenue. You will see here, McKinsey might be very strong in strategy and functional consulting, but revenue-wise, those who are into technology, auditing and accounts, they are much larger in revenue terms. Accenture and Deloitte both are heavily into auditing, accounts and technology. PwC also is into offshoring and technology. EY also into offshoring. Virtually, EY also runs virtually a KPO, a fully held KPO. Same with KPMG, almost running a fully held KPO. What is interesting is the big 4 or the big 10, they hold a majority of the market share. So one survey says 40%, big 4 hold 40%. If you go into big 10, they will almost be holding 60% of the market share, 60-70% of the market share. Small firms, another 25% or 20%, and 5 to 10% by individual consultants. That's how the slice is distributed. If you look at management consulting and business consulting, because we said the two are different. Management consulting includes business consulting, government consulting, and non-profit consulting. You can see the difference here. This part is business consulting, and this part is a combination of non-profit consulting and government consulting, and any other form of consulting which is not business consulting. But primarily it is non-profit consulting and government consulting. And as we see, the entire market is developing, and this part of non-profit and government consulting also is developing. If we look at comparison of India with other major markets in the area of consultancy, We see Indian market. This is 2017 figure. And we see how much potential is there for India to go, because even smaller countries have much larger consultancy markets. So we are at a good place as consultants. Some practical experiences of being in the Indian management consulting market as an individual consultant. First, how do you put it? Insight or sermon? First point, 80% of the market is captured by top 10 consulting firms in India. 10% is captured by small and medium enterprises in the area of management consulting. And the rest 10% is captured by individual consultants. Even within this 10%, 5% goes to a few consultants. Most individual consultants in India have 3 to 5 clients at any given time. It's very difficult for them to scale up. Consultant heal thyself is the situation. They advise others on how to scale up, but they are not able to scale up themselves. Although they have very good competencies, and this is a problem of aggregation. If somebody can put them together under an umbrella, and the umbrella can do marketing for them and free them to do the core functions, many of these individual consultants can grow far more in scale. Reality, however, is it has been so for many decades and likely to continue to be so for decades to come. Is there a need for management consulting in India? Answer is resounding yes. Not only the medium and large industry, but the small and micro needs consultancy services even more. The difficulty is the small and micro and small industry refuse to accept the need, which is obvious. So is there a need? Yes. Is it accepted? No. Is it appreciated? No. Is there a market therefore? Latent market? Yes. Operational market? No. Very difficult to market yourself in the SME sector, where really speaking the need is the highest. Now this calls for some action on the part of the government, especially bodies like SIDBI or Entrepreneurship Development Institute or Center for Entrepreneurship Development, which focus on small and medium industries. How they can be sensitized to this whole aspect of hiring management consultants, if necessary, with some help from the government. Small and micro industry can scale up very rapidly with some consultancy services being given. Unfortunately, it has never happened. Second point is, when it comes to small and micro and small industry, even medium, in many cases, there is no respect for consultants, contractual obligations, or lawful fairness, be it related to intellectual property or related to payment on time or related to royalty or related to the scope of work. That's a bitter part of it. The bitter part of reality of the Indian industry. It's difficult to find fair clients who pay on time and value your advice and abide by the contract. One idea that I have been propagating and many others also have joined in is the idea of consulting clinic, where Some institute like SIDB can ask its borrowing clients to make use of course, on a voluntary basis, no compulsions. SIDB can pay for 5 consultants to be present at a place 2 hours per week on a particular day. Let's say we fix up Saturday and SIDB says Saturday 4 to 6. SIDB is Small Industries Development Bank of India. It gives credit to small and medium industries, micro also. The model is, the consulting clinic model is, step 1, somebody like SIDB or any other development institute focused on micro and small industry establishes a place or hires a place where 5 consultants are called for 2 hours on a particular day, say Saturday 4 to 6, 1 from strategy, 1 each from the 4 functional areas, and micro and small industry owners or top management is invited there to discuss their problems if they wish and take advice free of cost. The time of the consultant is paid by the development institution or SIDB or any bank focused on bottom of the pyramid or micro and small industry. This advice, which is free, can help them a great deal. And if they want further advice, if they see value into it, they can go for paid services from the same consultant. The consultant gets possibility of developing new clients. The small and medium or micro industry gets, or bottom of pyramid gets free advice for an hour. And the development purpose of the development institute is achieved. But this consulting clinic, which you can easily create 5 such clinics in each district. Unfortunately, this consulting clinic is a great idea that we as a country have not leveraged, and very few countries have leveraged. Some countries which are intensely into cluster development approach, they do leverage this concept. A very important question in the context is, why hire a consultant? Why do clients hire consultants in the first place? Management consultants I'm referring to. Clients hire management consultants for a variety of reasons. Let's go into it with examples. The first reason for hiring a management consultant is he has specialized knowledge of any area, be it strategy or any of the functional areas, or in the area of non-profit management, or in the area of government and governance. A management consultant or a management consulting firm can be hired for problem solving. Say a company has a technical problem of improving quality, reducing rejects, and they hire a quality consultant. Or for learning enhancement, say a company into consumer marketing. Say a company into consumer marketing is managing many brands, and the company is not good in brand evaluation, and it wants somebody else to come from outside and teach the brand management staff how to evaluate a brand. So that is learning enhancement. Or a small industry is growing up and becoming a medium scale industry. And as it becomes medium from small, as it moves from small to medium, it feels a need for development of systems. As a small industry, you can easily function completely based upon the proprietor or the owner. When you become big or medium scale, you need systems. So for developing those systems, one can hire a consultant. In some cases, a consultant is hired because of his experience and perspective. If an industry is going through very uncertain times, or if a company is going into an area where they don't have any experience, say an industrial marketing company is moving into consumer marketing, they will hire somebody who has experience and perspective of the consumer marketing area to handhold them for a few years. So this can be an area where a consultant is hired. Another set of situation, a consultant may be hired because of his neutrality. In many situations, there is a conflict of opinion in the company. There is a contest of opinion, and the company needs a neutral person to come and help out the decision-making process. And here, the consultant is hired primarily out of his knowledge, but more out of his neutrality. A consultant may be also brought in because of his non-involvement in the company, where he can offer a fresh look at the company. And this is very important when you go for process re-engineering. If you go for process re-engineering, you want somebody who has knowledge of that sector, but is not involved in the production function on a day-to-day basis, at least of the type which is at work in the company. And this non-involvement enables the consultant to provide a fresh outlook and break free from the strange hold of experience which is imprisoning the creativity of those who are involved in the company. So non-involvement enables a fresh look, and therefore a person is hired who is not 100% involved in the process. Another situation, a management consultant may be hired because of his networks. It can be a marketing network, it can be a vendor procurement network, it can be a network of experts, it can be a network of public government servants. So there is hiring of management consultants also for networks. Many retired bank professionals or high-ranking government officials, they become consultants primarily out of their networks. A consultant may also be hired for hand-holding. Situation may be that a company is starting a new vertical, diversifying into something new, where it does not have experience and would like a consultant to handhold it for the first 2-3 years. Very common situation. Or the company is exporting for the first time to a country and it would like a consultant to provide assistance for the first 1 year. Or another situation, a company may have a temporary or small requirement and doesn't want to hire anybody permanent because of separation laws, industrial laws. So it will go for a consultant who is ready to work on a temporary requirement. Many non-profit organizations work on this model. Because they are project based and every project is 1 to 3 years and they have to close down the office after 3 years. They can't hire long-term staff. So they hire staff on a consulting basis. So temporary or small-time requirements are also fulfilled by hiring consultants instead of on-roll employees. Consultants can also be hired to identify new opportunities for acquisition or diversification. Essentially, this is an area where large companies would hire consulting firms rather than individuals. Who hires a consultant? Who makes the decision? In the business world, it is either the top management or the board. If the group is hiring a consultant to recast the group, like Tata's hiring McKinsey, or any other large group hiring a consulting firm to recast the group, the decision would be taken essentially by the board. If it is not a group level decision, but a company-wide decision, a company may be going for acquisition, merger, divestment. Even in those cases, the board will take a decision to appoint a consultant. And it will be consulting firm, it won't be an individual consultant. In all large deals, it will be consulting firm and not an individual consultant. All large assignments. If a consultant is being hired to work with the company on strategy, again the board will take the decision. But if a consultant is being hired to do some assignment at the functional area, then board will not come into the picture. The top management, usually the CEO, will take the decision. And if it's a very small assignment, then rarely the VP can take a decision. But consultants are not hired at the level of general manager or AVP. Usually it is CEO, rarely it is VP, very rarely it will be AVP, but generally I have not seen it. By and large, it is CEO and very rarely the VP. That's it. In case of non-profits, again the same situation, similar situation. If the consultant is being hired to review the working of a non-profit or for program development, very large program development, or to do a process review of the non-profit, or to do a divestment acquisition kind of, or expansion or divestment kind of decisions for the non-profit. By divestment, I mean not the sell off, but to give up which countries or areas not to work in. In such cases, the board will take the decision. If it has to do something with something related to fundraising or doing a survey or developing some new products for a beneficiary or a beneficiary organization, then the CEO of the NGO, you may call him CEO, you may call him coordinator, you may call him president, you may call him manager, whatever designation you give, but the chief executive will take the decision. In case of government, very few individuals are hired. Mostly they hire firms. And the hiring of firms is done through a government process, usually a process of empanelment or a process of tendering or both. And usually if the amount is small, if the assignment is small, a committee is appointed to oversee the whole tendering process. If the assignment is large, then secretaries or ministers or even the prime minister or chief minister will be on the committee. That is how the hiring of consultants, individual and consulting firms happens. In case of individual consultants, they are hired for small assignments by all the three: business, non-profit and government. And usually the decision is taken either by top management of the business, CEO or VP. In case of non-profit, the chief executive, whoever he is, whatever you call the designation. And in case of government, it is the government committee. That's how the hiring happens. What does it take to be a consultant if you wish to be one? These are the competencies to become a good consultant. First, very high conceptual ability, because you are going to offer conceptual products, your knowledge, insights, experience, perspective, your network to a company who already has professionals who have done a master's program in technology or management, and after that have worked for 20 years, 25 years. So the company already has those people. It's only when they cannot do something, the company goes out to hire somebody. So you need to have something specialized, which is not generically taught or acquired by a mainstream professional. Because every company, not every, but most companies who hire you in the medium and large sector will already have people with an MTech or MBA and 20 years of experience, and they will hire you only when they are not able to do something. In micro and small industry, the situation is different. They won't have such highly skilled people, and therefore, in one sense, they are hiring you not only for super specialized skill, but even for ordinarily specialized skills. So highly conceptual ability, especially in the medium and large industry, is very important. So it is a PhD level conceptual ability, not a master's level ability, because master's level abilities are already there in the company. Second is self-confidence in the solution that we prescribe, in the analysis that we offer, in the clarity that with which we see the problem and the situation. Creativity to solve problems in different ways, specifically speaking in areas of new product development, brand management, corporate identity, creating intellectual property. Wide reading is very essential because top management, before giving you orders, will be gauging you through. Having the wide reading comes across very clearly, explicitly or implicitly, helps a great deal in establishing your credibility in front of the decision makers. Good statistical skills, if you have, good. If you don't have, you can outsource it. Good to have, not a must. Original thinking, very essential. More original a thinker consultant is, better consultant he is. Very important. The personality of the consultant has to be such that one can get in tune with top management or the owners. They already have been through the grill of the pyramid and they have reached the top. So they are all by and large accomplished people, worldly wise people, intelligent people, knowledgeable people. And they gauge you in their interaction. It's very necessary to be in tune. This is something very few people really value, but it's very important. If they see you as somebody who is like those who work under them, they are least likely to hire you. They have to see you as somebody who is of the same level or above than where they are. So getting in tune with the top management as a personality, getting in tune with their personalities where they feel you are one of them or above them is very necessary to succeed as a consultant. Who becomes a consultant, who goes on or who desires to be a consultant, it's a very sought out profession. The best of the best in the management area desire to be management consultants. So the best of management graduates from the best of world's management schools, they line up, they desire, they dream to become consultants. Those who do PhD or fellowships from top B schools or IIMs, they desire to be a consultant. They actually become consultants. In fact, top management graduates from best schools, they become consultants. PhDs and fellows of top B schools become consultants. Experienced professionals after 10, 15 years of work experience, many of them resign and become consultants. In countries where management consulting is a chartered profession, like Canada, after doing a PhD or after some years of experience, people undergo a process of certification called Chartered Management Consultant. And like a chartered accountant, they emerge out of it as a certified consultant, as a chartered consultant. So they become consultants. Professionals with unique networks, say marketing network in Africa, or marketing network in South America, they become consultants. Those who have extremely specialized knowledge of a particular machine or of a particular material, they become consultants. Strangely, many talented misfits who don't have the ability to work in a structured group or environment, by default, they have no choice but to call themselves consultants. So they become consultants. They are actually the misfits kicked out by the organizational system. Some retired or talented or well-networked professionals from public sector units, government, academia, they become consultants after retirement. So these are the streams, the catchment areas from where consultants come. The routes to how people become a consultant, where they come from. What are the opportunities? It can be taken up as a job where you join a management consulting firm. It can be a large firm or a small and medium firm. Or you take it up as a entrepreneurship, you become an individual management consultant. And later on, you desire to create a management consulting firm of your own. Or the second opportunity is in the global outsourcing market, the knowledge process outsourcing market, where from high cost countries like USA, UK, Europe, I should not say countries, high cost markets like USA and Europe, some part of the work related to research or domain knowledge related work can be outsourced to low cost countries like India. There's a very large opportunity in outsourcing of management consulting work. Not the whole work cannot be outsourced, but certain components of the work can be outsourced, and it's quite a sizable amount. The entire work put together, not from one company, but entire work put together. Opportunity also is in specialized knowledge, can be data analytics, can be genetics, can be electronics, or brand evaluation, or marketing aesthetics. Good opportunities there. This opportunity in non-profit consulting, very few people know about it. But if you go to a website, devnetjobs.org, or you go to reliefweb.org, you will see all the opportunities in consulting in the area of non-profit consulting. Non-profit consulting is a very large area, few people know about it. In non-profit consulting, there are consulting firms and independent consultants, individual consultants both. Non-profit consulting area has its own Big 10, just as business consulting area has its own Big 10. Opportunity exists in government consulting more for firms, and some government liaising for individuals. Is there a formal path? Yes, formal paths are there. One formal path is you do a PhD or a fellowship from a reputed institute, then work with the professors in consulting, and then slowly go on your own. Second path is go to the ICMCI website, find the representative of ICMCI in your country. So let us say if it is India, then it is IMCI, Institute of Management Consultants of India. Become a member, Then go for postgraduate diploma in management consulting. Do some consulting. After 2 years, go for chartered certified management consultant, which is a chartered credential. In countries where this is a chartered service, in India it's certification, certified management consultant. In Canada, it would be a chartered management consultant. Some MBA institutes offer courses in management consulting. Take up those courses if they are optional. If it's compulsory, then it's in the line anyway. Government of India has created Center for Development of Consultancy, CDC. Go to its website, get more information. If they offer any courses, do it. Become a member if they offer membership. I believe this is now shifted to Center for Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR. Just check up on this. In India, management consulting is not yet a chartered profession. We have been demanding it be made a chartered profession and focus on this area because quite a large amount of outsourcing can happen in this area. How to become a consultant? Develop strong conceptual skills, strong and wide knowledge. Work for 3 to 5 years under some consultant or with some consultant. Keep networking in the consulting community. Become member of IMCI. Go to all the networking events. Participate on all the management consulting conferences online. If necessary, initially even do participate in project consultancy for free. Develop a toolkit for quick use, the instruments that you are going to use for consultancy. It can be a statistical measurement tool. It can be a questionnaire. It can be an in-depth interview guide. It can be a focus group discussion guide. Develop a toolkit. Keep looking out for projects at India and abroad. If you cannot do it by yourself, get associated with friends or senior consultants. As a group, do it. How do we go forward in the course for those who are not taking the course? Those who are taking the course, refer to textbook Management Consulting by Milan Kuber. We will use books, papers, and videos in addition to your reading and these recordings. Evaluation will be based upon project, book review, and class participation, mostly based upon project and book review. In project, you take up a company and as a consultant, try to analyze the company, its environment, and the way ahead. So you start with environmental analysis, then go do internal analysis of the company, then do a SWOT, list out the problems, and list out the strategies. Second, this first assignment project. Take up a company which is in the middle of very uncertain environment, very difficult challenges. Second assignment is book review. Take up a book. Some have been suggested. You can take any other book, but the book has to be a good one. Read through the book and make a presentation to the entire class. So everyone can collectively reflect upon it. Present the content of the book and your critical appreciation of it. Those who are not taking it as a credited course, just omit the evaluation part, but you can do the assignment for yourself to enhance the development of conceptual ability and skill. So with this, we complete Management Consulting 01, meaning and scope, where we have dealt with the meaning of the term management consulting, a general perspective of the global and the Indian market, and a few facts and insights related to management consulting. In the next session, Management Consulting 02, we will take up the heart of the whole series, the process of management consulting. Thank you.